friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather, and today it's time to do the mid-year freakout tag. I really enjoy doing this one each year. It's kind of a good way to wrap up the first half of the year and see where we're at with things. Also, I am going to do a brief little just kind of check-in on some of my yearly goals, see how we're doing there. I'm gonna be probably not doing great because I did get pretty slumpy and had kind of a rough couple months here. We're back on reading and just kind of getting back in the groove, which is amazing, and I'm really excited about that. But yeah, let's go ahead, and before we jump into all of the fun questions, get down below, click subscribe. Also, I have my Goodreads, Instagram, and Storygraph down there if you want to chit-chat books on all the different platforms. I would really love and adore that. And let's go ahead and start the mid-year freakout tag. So the first question is the best book that you've read so far in 2022. I kind of went back and I was trying to, narrow it down. And so I've got a couple of different books that I've really enjoyed so far this year. I don't know if they're the best that I've read. I'm hoping, honestly, that it's going to be a little easier to choose this to, because I really had to, I really enjoyed some books, but they just weren't as good as I feel like the last couple years. Anyways, so the first book I'm going to mention is actually a manga. It's the first manga I've ever read. Really enjoyed it, and that's The Girl from the Other Side. I think it is really just kind of a fun, it's kind of got this fantasy horror vibe to it, but it also is a little bit kind of sweet underneath. Very interesting. We're following this girl and this other beast, and basically he's helping to raise this girl because her aunt somehow has gone missing, and she can't find her after this big thing has happened in the world, and now it's divided into these two areas where you have more humans and then more of these kind of more beastly creatures that live on the other side. So it was really cute. The dynamic between the two of them was really, really cute, and I really just thought it was really well done. So that's one of my favorites. I also really enjoyed The Rattled Bones by S.N. Parker. This was a really fun kind of horror novel where we're following this girl. She lives in this town that does a lot of fishing. I think it was for lobsters specifically. I believe they're in Maine. And there's this little island out there that nobody's ever really lived on, and sometimes she'd stop there and she sees this guy. Sorry, I keep having my videos stop. I think my memory is a little too full, so I'm hoping that this will work now. Anyways, so she ends up going to this island and sees this guy there, and she's like, what is he up to? And he's there from a college doing some archaeological work and trying to figure out more about people who used to live there. And she's like, nobody's ever lived here before. And so they kind of start getting a friendship going, learning a little bit more about this island, and she's also dealing with some other stuff, and there's also this weird woman that keeps kind of showing up, and she's like, what is even happening here? So that is my top two right now, I think, for the year of my favorites I've read. Moving on to number 2, we have best sequel of the year so far. And so I have 2 for this one again. I actually read The Kiss Quotient earlier this year, and then I read The Bride Test. And so The Bride Test is technically a sequel, and I just loved and adored this book. They were both really cute, but I do think I enjoyed The Bride Test just a smidge more. This is by Helen Huang. So this one is about this mom who basically mail orders a bride for her son Kai, and she moves in with him, and he's just like, this is not something I want, but they, slowly have a little romance, and it's super cute. And then the other sequel that I really enjoyed was The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. This is the sequel to The Bear and the Nightingale, and this one is a fantasy series that I always have a hard time kind of talking about, but we're following this young girl who basically can see these creatures that live in houses and help the people. One of them lives in the oven and helps to keep it warm and hot, and just different stuff like that. And offerings are usually left for them, but there's a big change in the political and climate and Christianity is coming in, and so these offerings are being left, and that kind of opens up this world to have some evil coming through, and she's the only one who really sees them and really believes this, and she kind of has to figure out how to fight him. It's very, I don't know, I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but it is a very atmospheric read. It's set in the winter in Russia, and it's just really beautifully written, and I really adore it. So those are my two best sequels so far this year. So now we have new releases that I haven't read yet, but really, really want to, and there's a million, like so many. I really want to read Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, which is like about this ghost ship out in space that these people find. And then I also want to read How High We Go in the Dark. That one sounds really intriguing. Also Running Wild, which is a continuation of the Wild, what is the first one? I know it's the Wild series, but Simple Wild is the first book in the series. Totally just spaced about that. One of my favorite romances, so I definitely want to, continue in that series. Also, Book Lovers, which is Emily Henry's new book that just came out. I'm going to read that one. Riley Sager's new book that just came out, or is it coming out shortly? I don't know. I know I'm getting it in my book of the month, so that one will be good to get to. I haven't been hearing great things, though. I will say that. And then most anticipated releases for the second half of 2022, I would say Carrie Soto by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I can't remember. It's like Carrie Soto is back or something. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Definitely want to read what she has coming out. I'm really excited about that one. I was excited about How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, but I think that one's not coming out till next year now, which is kind of a bummer. But I was really looking forward to that one. Bloodmarked, which is the sequel to Legendborn, by Tracy Deonn. Really want to read that one. I can't think of any more, but I know there's a million. And I'm actually going to do a video shortly on a bunch of anticipated reads that are coming up for me, so be on the lookout for that. So now going into one of my biggest disappointments of the year, and that was I Killed Zoe Spanos. I actually read this during a vlog, and I was really enjoying the setup of it and most of the book, probably like half to 3/4 of the book. I was enjoying it and I was intrigued, but the ending just like ruined it, and I was so disappointed. I just like didn't make any sense. I felt like it was just kind of thrown together, but like it really just, it didn't work at all. It was awful, and I know I ranted quite a bit in the vlog video about it. Yeah, I'll try and link that for you guys up top and down below if you want to check it out, but that one was really disappointing to me. Now on the flip side, my biggest surprise of the year, I actually have this one. My biggest surprise of the year was Half Sick of Shadows, which I also vlogged very recently. I just finished reading this one, and I was really surprised how much I loved this one. I thought this one was maybe going to be like, I was hoping like a 4-star read, but this was definitely a 5-star. Like, I really loved this one. It is a Camelot, King Arthur type retelling. You're following through, what's her name? Elaine's eyes, and she is a oracle, so you're constantly kind of seeing the future and wondering like, is that the actual future path that's going to happen? And you're just like not wanting it to, and wanting her to be able to kind of change things. But we're going through this journey of King Arthur trying to take over the throne after his father has passed, and we have fae in here, magical creatures at kind of odds with the humans, and oh my gosh, I just loved it. It was really well crafted and definitely a big surprise for me. So next question was favorite new author, and this could be new to you or debut author, so I just went ahead and just like did both. Helen Hoang, definitely going to be a new author that I'm going to pick up more from, because I really enjoyed both the books I had already mentioned that I read from her, and I want to continue in that series and see what else she has. And then the other one was Nita Prose. She came out with her debut novel, The Maid, this year. And this was a really fun, like, clue whodunit, where this maid finds a body in the hotel and you're trying to figure out who killed them. And it was really interesting, the perspective that you get. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. apparently we're just gonna gush a little bit about Helen Huang's books because the next question was newest fictional crush. And I honestly was having a hard time like thinking of characters that I really connected to when I was going through this. Just in general, I just was like, no characters were like standing out. Like I remember this character and I love them. So some of this was kind of rough, but Michael from The Kiss Quotient, I just thought he was really sweet and patient, and I just was like, yeah, okay, he could be my new fictional crush, sure. And then the next question was newest favorite character overall. So this one, I read A Dowry of Blood, and so I put in Dracula's wife. It's never said that it's actually Dracula that we're speaking of, but kind of assumed, I guess. But basically, this book is following, it's this big long letter that Dracula's wife is writing to him. And it basically like chronicles how she felt and what happened from when she was made until the end. And yeah, it was really like well written and crafted and just kind of a different take on the whole story. And I just thought it was really well done, and I really, really enjoyed that book. That one was definitely one of those books that's kind of towards the top of this year that I've really enjoyed. Then we had Book That Made You Cry. I have not cried to any books yet this year, so I have nothing for this, which is surprising. I usually have a few. I usually don't have a ton. Books don't overly make me cry, but I usually have like a little bit. But nope, not this year. And then on the flip side, Book That Made You Happy. And I think the book that made me the happiest this year was Well Met. By Jen DeLuca. I loved and adored re-listening to this this year. I already read it last year, but I think I enjoyed it even more on the reread, and it just made me happy. And I would literally just read this again. Like, this is probably one of my favorite books. I just adore it. So next up, we had most beautiful book that you've bought this year. And I honestly didn't write anything down. I was like, oh, I need to look at my bookshelves, and I forgot. So let's take a look at my bookshelves and see what beautiful books I've gotten this year. So I really haven't bought very many books this year, as I've been kind of in this moving transition and stuff, and there's just been a lot going on. But we're gonna go with this one, Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. I got this one recently. I honestly adore the kind of ship vibes with the little compass and the waves and stuff in the background. I think it's a really pretty color. But I also really adore this kind of illustration on the inside here. I think that is just, I don't know, there's something about it that just I love, and it pulls me in, and I'm like, yes. So that's what we're gonna say for that one. I don't have a ton of really pretty ones, so it's also in the back. So there's that. And then the last question for the book freakout tag here is, what books do you need to read for the rest of this year? And I just need some life-changing, wonderful books. I need this year to just turn around. I need to read all the books that are just like, I never want to forget this book, and I just love it, and it's like in my soul, and I'm just over the moon about it. That's what I need. I need some really standout books, because I've read some good books this year. I'm not saying I haven't. It just hasn't quite lived up to previous years so far. I just haven't had a spark with certain books. You know, I've really enjoyed quite a few books. I've rated quite a few books, 4.5, 5 stars, but like, they're just not it 100%. You know, they're not the favorite of the favorite. I need some of that. So I don't know what that is yet, but we're gonna find out. I have a lot of plans for the rest of the year for my reading, and options that definitely could get there. So now we're gonna jump into the second kind of part of this, and that's just to kind of review the 8 goals that I kind of set out for myself this year at the beginning of the year, and see how it's going with that. My first goal was to read 120 books this year, which surprisingly I am doing very well with. I did well with the first few months of the year, so my slump hasn't like totally botched this. At the end of June, so halfway through the year, I was at 66 books, which would technically put me at 132 at the end of the year if I continued that. So I'm on track there. I also really wanted to read more big books, so I was going to try and read 10 books over 600 pages this year, and do one like a month, and then do reading vlogs. I've done 2. then I got slumpy and none of that has happened. I'm hoping to kind of restart this next month, so you should be seeing a reading vlog of me reading It by Stephen King. That's kind of my plan, is doing that one next month. And one is probably the biggest one on my TBR. It's like over 1,000 pages and it's huge. So I'm a little intimidated, but I'm gonna try and get back to that one. I don't know if I'm gonna hit 10 by the end of the year. My third goal was to read more arcs and keep up on reviews of that. I did a couple of my arcs and I put out review videos for them towards the beginning of this year, but I am super backed up. I've got several arcs that came out in May and June, and several are coming out this month that I haven't read yet and I don't have reviews out for, but I'm trying to kind of get back on top of that, but that one's just not gone well at all. I also wanted to read more new releases, which kind of almost connects into that other one. I just wanted to read more current books that were coming out. And last year, I had read 22% of my books were from that year. This year, not so much. I guess I've been going more backlist type stuff, but I've only read 12% of my reads have been from this year. So probably also need to get some of those arcs, and then that's going to help a ton. Goal number 6 was to finish 10 series this year. So how am I doing with that? Oh, great. I finished 2. But both of those 2 have been series that I also started this year. So it's not like I whittled away and finished 2 series that I already had started. No, I added series and finished them. So yeah, that's where that's at. Go me. And I think I'm actually going to be finishing up another series here shortly. But again, it was a series I started this year. So at least the series I'm starting, I'm trying to work on finishing them a little faster. That's how we're going to put a positive spin on that one. I also wanted to read for more diverse authors, which is something I always kind of work on each year. And I always seem to be around 22, 23%, I feel like, and that's where I'm at right now, 22%. My goal is to get to 25, and I actually was there until I did my 1 week, 1 shelf challenge stuff for the last few weeks, and then I just don't have enough of that stuff on my shelf. So that's something I really need to work on with the books that I'm bringing in, is trying to bring in books that are from diverse authors as well. So when I read off my shelves, I've got those options. So that is something I need to plug into my brain as well and kind of work on. And then the last thing was I just really wanted to be a little bit more involved in the book community with readathons and read-alongs and book clubs and just different stuff like that, which I've kind of been doing. I mean, during my slump, I kind of wasn't, but I'm going to try and do Summerween here this month. I've been decently active in the Tilted Kettle Book Club, really enjoying that one. I've been doing a read-along with the Bookstara group for a couple of different series, so I've kind of been a little bit involved in that. I'd like to be a little more involved with some of it, but, you know, working on it. I'm happy with what I have been doing so far, so that one's doing okay. So that's it. That's what I've got to wrap up this kind of middle of the year freak out and what's going on with my year wrap up. So I hope you guys really enjoyed, and down below, if you made it this far and you feel up to it, leave me some kind of bat or pumpkin or something, because we have Summerween coming up and I'm really excited about it. So leave me some Halloween emojis. I would love to talk to you guys down there. Would also love to hear what your guys' absolute best book of this year has been so far, so that I can look some of these up and maybe I can read them and we can get on a good track for the end of this year. So let me know that as well down below, and I will talk to you guys soon. Hope you guys have a good day. Bye!